the Suns lost their first round matchup in the in-season tournament with the Los Angeles Lakers last night, and a lot of things came down to what was transpiring in the fourth quarter. The first 7 minutes of the fourth quarter, the Suns were +2. They won that first stretch of the fourth quarter 13-11, including going 3 for 5 from deep, and just generally compiling just enough stops to play with pace into the half court, and then playing off of the advantages that they can create in terms of shot quality from there. A lot of that dissipated as they got into crunch time, and we saw things in terms of roles kind of reverse between them and the Lakers. The Lakers started to dictate with pace and tempo, and the Suns will ultimately be -4 in the clutch the last 5 minutes of the game. So they went from +2 in the first 7 to -4 in crunch time, and they would lose those minutes 8-12, and then they would also go 3 for 9 from the field. And on the Lakers side of things in crunch time, they would go 4 for 10. So we see they got one extra attempt on goal, one shot on goal, more than the Suns did. And that came at the hands of the Lakers also compiling 3 offensive rebounds. That kind of alone entails a little bit of what was going on. But we still going to dive into the film and just kind of weed through what exactly was going on. So this first rep, here we're going to see with the Suns on defense. It's going to see Eric Gordon at the point of attack and guarding LeBron James. Now, those are two things that you don't necessarily want or desire in terms of if you're looking at the Suns roster and who you would rather have guarding LeBron James in crunch time and who you would rather have navigating screens as a primary defender. Eric Gordon will not be at the top of that list in any capacity, but this is kind of where the Suns were in terms of the decisions that Frank Vogel made. So things are kind of inevitable in terms of what transpired, but the Suns can do things in terms of covering up for that, knowing that that's going to be the approach that they're going to have in the game, especially in crunch time with the team that they've gone against multiple times and lost to multiple times, largely because of what's transpired in crunch time and in fourth quarters. And here we're going to see it's going to be Nurkic being essentially gained access to because of what we talked about with Eric Gordon trying to stay in front of LeBron and also trying to navigate a screen at the same time. He's reactive to LeBron. LeBron doesn't even feel him as he comes over the screen. And now he's going to be able to play within the soft spot of the drop coverage from Nurkic. Now, Nurkic does a solid job here as LeBron gets into the snake dribble. And then the Suns get into the late switch. They do a solid job with the timing on the late switch. This is something that I've complimented them on, though they can be better. I've seen incremental growth from where it was earlier this season, especially in their first couple of games against the Lakers, to where they are now in that process defensively. Specifically with Nurkic, they've gotten better with that, between his relationship with the guards and himself in terms of communication in that defensive context. The Lakers play off of the tag with Kevin Durant. He does a good job of getting the jab out on the roll, and then getting a nice little closeout, not doing too much, just playing with length and size on the perimeter. It boomerangs back to LeBron. And now we're going to look at the Suns and specifically Kevin Durant and his organization. I've called him a switch anchor, and this is what I mean by that. When they get an initial switch out on the perimeter, you have to reorganize yourself. Otherwise, you're conceding a mismatch. So look at this kick-out switch that Kevin Durant gets in communication with Eric Gordon with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. The late switch with Nurkic netted Eric Gordon on Anthony Davis, and as LeBron respaces as he gets the boomerang pass, Kevin Durant communicates this switch here, this kick-out switch, to keep the defensive shell intact and keep the matchups in terms of who's on who making sense. And that also, in addition to that, pairs Kevin Durant with being in position for rim protection with his 7'6" wingspan, which is obviously also a plus, in addition to having him on Anthony Davis instead of Eric Gordon. Now, going back to Nurkic at the point of attack, he does a great job doing as much as you possibly can ask for him and from him in terms of being with LeBron James in space, not having much of any help until he gets to the paint. And he does a good job crowding the airspace, influencing him to his left hand, keeping him to his left hand, and then even sliding with him and absorbing contact. And ultimately, he's going to get elbowed in the face as LeBron raises up to engage Kevin Durant. And now this could be an offensive foul, but we also know that things weren't being called in terms of how they generally are. They weren't being called to that extent in crunch time of this game. So controlling the things that you can control, the Suns have to just worry about getting a stop and not the referees here. And this ends up actually getting a reaction out of Kevin Durant. As you can see, he's going up to initially contest, and then you see his arms end up never going above his shoulders as he tries to brace for the contact that he sees. Now we're going to see just kind of defensive dominoes falling from there, and literally players falling in this action Anthony Davis is going to be enabled to lay up. And that's just tough. That's tough, but you just got to control the things that you can control in that specific situation. No foul call. He's got to try to play to get the stop. The Lakers get 2. Now coming back to the offensive side here for the Suns. We've been seeing a lot of small guards screening for each other for the Suns in the half court especially. And that's been something, whether it's getting 2 to the ball and putting another guard in the short roll or just playing within the advantages that come from that with goal screening and things like that. They've been doing a better job baking that into their offensive process. And here we're going to see Eric Gordon coming to set a screen for Devin Booker. But we're going to also pay attention to Devin Booker directing traffic as he kind of sees what's coming before it happens. So he's telling Grayson Allen here, who's in the top left corner of the screen, in that corner on the right side of the floor, he's telling him come to the backside. So he's going over to the backside. He's going to run the baseline. He's going to respace. That's going to put Kevin Durant on the same side as the strong-handed Devin Booker. And we know with Kevin Durant one pass away, as we've talked about a lot, that's not going to see any hand help of any capacity from Taurean Prince. So Eric Gordon, as he comes in to set the screen, a small screen for Devin Booker, is just giving the defense just enough of something to think about while also manipulating space. Brings LeBron James out of place. So instead of him being at the nail, being able to potentially give help, Devin Booker is going to be enabled access to his right hand, his strong hand, gets into this drive without having to worry about any defense, curves the angle to get into optimized position as he terminates the dribble, and he's going to be able to navigate himself to free throws here. Solid process. Now he knocked down both of those free throws, and the Suns will come within 1. So now coming back to the defensive side of the floor, we're going to see more of Nurkic in pick and roll. This time it's LeBron and Anthony Davis again. Eric Gordon trying to navigate the screen. There's no contact. He's just reacting to LeBron. Anthony Davis sets a solid screen again. And now LeBron's going to be enabled access to Nurkic again. And as we see LeBron get to this soft spot and we rewind it back, this is something that the Suns, like I talked about earlier, I gave them a compliment on. Now this is something they also still need to continuously improve on, like I mentioned as well. They get to the late switch part of this drop coverage, and we're going to see, at this point, Nurkic should know that Eric Gordon is just not going to be able to navigate this screen based off of just knowing your tendencies of your teammates. So as he gets into his drop, he should be around this point, not continuing to concede leverage to LeBron, knowing that LeBron can pull up at any given point. And LeBron gets into this hop, and all of that just kind of adds up as Nurkic is continuing to backpedal and conceding space into his midi. And LeBron doesn't really even feel Nurkic on this late switch, and he's able to get in too. This is just kind of something that they have to continue to rep out, but Nurkic should be stopping around the free throw line, if not a step and a half above it, to take away that, but also keep the airspace closed if LeBron even potentially wanted to change the pace and try to drive. You don't want to concede too much space. And obviously, this is us talking about it with the film pause and being able to go back and forth. Things move a lot faster in real time, but this is just something that you have to be able to execute, especially if you're playing drop coverage. Late clock and in clutch time, but also just generally when you know you're going against superstar players that have these abilities to pull up in the mid-range. And that's 2 for LeBron. And then here we're going to see more of the Lakers on offense. We're going to see is again Nurkic and Eric Gordon. And we're going to see the screen being set. Eric Gordon's going to do a good job not just conceding the late switch, doing a better job of navigating it this time. Anthony Davis also doesn't set it to the extent that he did on the others. Nonetheless, Eric Gordon does a better job at the point of attack on this rep than he did on any of the ones prior that we broke down. Now, he's still going to end up giving up leverage. This is just because of a stature difference between him and LeBron. Once LeBron gets his shoulder even with you, just like with a receiver in football, if we even, we leaving. If LeBron's shoulder is even with you and he's getting downhill, he's leaving. And that's going to end up getting to this late switch part again. And it's going to be Nurkic being tasked with trying to rim protect against LeBron. Now, Nurkic can't let them split the two, and he can do a better job with in terms of his position and how squared up with the ball he is in this scenario, especially seeing how many times with the last few reps that they've been getting into late switches. You can kind of anticipate it, especially in trusting your backside defense with Kevin Durant being peeled into the paint early as the single side guy to put a tag on Anthony Davis. You just got to trust that, be more squared up with the ball, and be able to put yourself in a position for another vertical rim contest. And also getting the additional help from Grayson Allen. Instead, all of those dominoes kind of fall, and LeBron's going to be enabled access to the basket, gets up another contested left-handed layup. But again, this is LeBron James, an all-time great. There's only so much you can do, and if you're not nailing the margins in terms of the little things that you can control in these scenarios, he's going to exploit. And then here we're going to see the Suns after a timeout. I like this play call. They're going to get into a zipper screen. Zipper screen here for Kevin Durant. That's going to turn into spread pick and roll. And then it's going to go zipper, spread, and then they're going to go veer. So Nurkic, after the middle pin down for Kevin Durant, the inverted zipper screen for Kevin Durant on the catch, he's just going to screen the space. Durant's going to flow over, and then he's going to get into a veer screen. So the veer screen obviously being the screen set on ball, and then an off ball screen immediately following that. So this is good action, good pace. But look at this window here that Devin Booker has. He has to trust this in terms of the advantage that they're creating. What the Suns are doing is they're manipulating the space and opening up an empty side of the floor here as they get into basically like a pick and roll or handoff type adjacent action with this veer screen. So we see the veer set. On this catch from Devin Booker, it's got to be a quick pass, especially with Cam Reddish navigating over and him seeing that Anthony Davis is reacting to the screen navigation that's going on the perimeter. He's got the defense to commit to him. He's got to trust this while he has momentarily 2 to the ball. This window is quick, and this is where just kind of seeing the game in windows really has to be an advantage that you play in and kind of anticipate it even more than anything else. Booker's a beat late with his processing on this. Doesn't get it over to Nurkic on a quick touch pass. See at the catch here. You just got to get it there quick, otherwise that window is going to be gone. Devin Booker ultimately elects to hold on to it. The Lakers late switch it. Now he's got Anthony Davis on him. They respace. And then again, like we saw over the course of the game, any type of post-ups or isolation touches for Booker and Durant, we saw overload help where the low man was over the help line and really showing his body in wherever their strong hand was. Here is Devin Booker getting to his right hand with Anthony Davis in isolation. He sees Cam Reddish is there, so he has to redirect. Takes a little bit of a retreat dribble between the legs. Does a good job breaking leverage. And look at this screen from Nurkic. Devin Booker doesn't really have a plan as he's trying to scramble late clock after what the initially had call isn't there. He has to be able to kind of just find that little pocket to pull up in the mid-range. Obviously, he's one of the better mid-range shooters in the NBA, elite at that. He takes just one too many steps and just kind of flows a little bit too quickly into this and kind of takes himself from what is an advantage right here to what's not an advantage, which is right here. And then the Suns end up not even getting a shot off on this possession as they kind of scramble out. And it's going to be a shot clock violation. These are the attention to details and the little things that just can't happen in crunch time, especially when you're at a deficit even more. And then here we are with the Suns back on defense again. We see a screen getting a switch here from Eric Gordon. Screen on Eric Gordon. They go late switch with Nurkic, and now Nurkic is out in space. You can look at his footwork. He's influencing in addition to this help. As you can see, Devin Booker stepping up at the opposite elbow. We see them ultimately end up putting 2 to the ball. This is a good job with the switching hit from the Suns here after this timeout. See the switching hit that kicks Nurkic out off the ball. And now they're going to be able to get into their defensive decision-making and be able to reorganize behind the play. As we see Nurkic then flow back to Anthony Davis and kick out Eric Gordon, scramming him off of that. They get their reorganization. They're going to end up flowing into a stop. Good job from Grayson Allen on defense. But this is where, again, the attention to detail. As they get up this shot, there's only 1 second left. You know a shot's coming. Nurkic only throws a hand up at Anthony Davis instead of truly turning, putting his lower side into the lower legs of Davis and boxing out. Now, who's to say that even if that does happen, LeBron James doesn't grab this rebound? But you got to kind of just play it there and just do your job. Nurkic has to do a better job checking out. Anthony Davis is going to get this rebound. Now, he's going to ultimately miss, and then the Lakers are going to get another possession out of this. But this is, even with the miss obviously being a plus for the Suns in crunch time, you just can't concede what this is, which is the shot clock now being bled out and the game clock being bled out, again, while you're at a deficit in crunch time. These are the little things on the margins that the Suns just haven't been nailing in terms of their crunch time play against contending teams, especially against the Lakers this season. It's going to end up in another three-pointer for Austin Reeves, and now he's going to miss that, and they're going to ultimately grab that rebound, but they bled away an extra 14 to 20 seconds in addition to the initial 20 seconds on the shot clock that they had. Now the Suns are going to flow down court, and they're going to get the ball to Kevin Durant. He's going to do a solid job just playing quickly to get a quick bucket in isolation before they can kind of start loading up and help in terms of getting the defense involved. That's a good job navigating the nail, gets to a midi pull-up, and that's money. And out here back on defense, we're going to see Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, this time switching to Austin Reeves and LeBron James pick and roll. And then we see Grayson Allen doing a great job jumping to the strong side and doing a good job fronting LeBron James here. Just trying to bleed away the shot clock as much and force the Lakers to work with the shot clock on their back. And then in addition to that, we're going to see the communication on the second side between Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. As we see this switch, and then ultimately the front, look at Kevin Durant communicating to Devin Booker, zone up, play two by yourself. And we're going to see Kevin Durant playing with size and length on the help side. Does a great job here getting up a contest as LeBron cuts back door. And this is just Kevin Durant just being big and being tall, using his wingspan to his advantage. The Suns get a stop there. Still down 3. They get into another small screen. This time, Devin Booker uses it. And they need a quick 2. He does a good job as they're down 3 of just using LeBron, getting the switch, and then not playing with the pace and getting past him. I think he went quicker than LeBron expected him to. He's able to break leverage, get up a left-hand layup here, and the Suns get, again, quick 2, and then put themselves down 1. And then coming back to the offensive side for the Lakers, the defensive side for the Suns, this is where, again, the attention to detail and some of the issues that they've been having continues to rear its head in their disadvantageous to them. So we see, again, another screen in the empty corner. The Lakers run a ton of empty corner pick and rolls and really test their defensive coverages and principles. Here in crunch time, they get into it with Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis. And we see initially it looks like the Suns want to switch this. But again, this is where the hiccups at the mesh point of screens just continue to come back to hurt them at the most inopportune times. We see a little bit of indecision with this switch here between Kevin Durant and Grayson Allen. Ultimately, it's not going to be a switch. But because of the space that's conceded at the mesh point of it and the indecision from both players involved even more, it's going to concede a rhythm pull-up for Austin Reeves that's not really even contested. And again, these are the little things that are just compounding when you're down in crunch time, and just generally in crunch time, you have to be sharp and on your P's and Q's in communication and in principle and scheme. The Suns weren't. And we can talk about all of the other things that were out of their control, but in terms of the things that they can control, they didn't control those things to the best of their abilities. The Lakers did a better job doing so on their end, even if it was only by 1 extra basket. But that's the difference between winning in crunch time, especially against contending teams, and losing. And that's just kind of where the Suns are at this point in time. They got to be better, and they got to be more sharp collectively.